Praise be Jesus Christ and Mary Immaculate. Welcome to this third Sunday of Advent, also called Laetatis Sunday. We're going to read from the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verses 6 through 8 and 19 to 28. A man named John was sent from God. He came for testimony, to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but came to testify to the light. Who are you? Is the center question from this reading from the evangelist John. And this is not a simple question like, what's your name? Where do you live? What do you do for work? Not just an ordinary question. This is a very concrete question that is posed to John and is posed to all of us. Who are you in relation to the plan of God? Who are you in relation to the one who is to come? Who are you in relation to the Messiah? In the first section, verses 6 through 8, we heard a man named John was sent from God, and he came to testify to the light. John is described in his relationship with the light who is to come. The light who is to come into the world so that the people will no longer be in darkness. We are told that he is a divine chosen person, that he is a divinely chosen witness to the light, that he comes in the name of God, chosen by God, sent by God to speak for God and to represent God. He is not the light, but he is to bear testimony to the light. And the fact that he is not the light means that John has also experienced this darkness, that he also has to come from the darkness, that he has to be brought forth to the light. He is the voice that cries out from the darkness, the voice that proclaimed that the light was soon to come. Later on in the Gospel of John, we hear that John himself sends his own disciples to Jesus to ask him a question, to ask, are you the one who is to come, or are we to prepare for another? Because it is not clear. For John as well, he has to grow in his knowledge of Jesus, and who he is as the Christ, as the promised Messiah, is not as easy as one thinks. In John verses 19 to 28, John is questioned by the religious leaders from Jerusalem, because every time the light of Jesus wants to come in, every time the light of the gospel wants to find itself into this world, the powers of darkness come forward. And the religious leaders act as agents of the darkness because they don't want to be in the light. They don't want to be in the light of the good news of Jesus Christ, because then their actions will be seen by everyone. And they come and they interrogate John with good 5 questions. Who are you? What are you then? Who are you, so that we can give answer to those who sent us? What do you have to say for yourself? Why then do you baptize if you are not the Christ or Elijah or the prophets? As soon as the light is proclaimed, the forces of darkness want to overcome it and hide it from the world. In the text, the religious leaders are agents of darkness because they are blinded to the person of Jesus. They do not want to see him for who he is, and they will never recognize him. They will remain always in the darkness, and they prefer that. And they prefer that people stay in darkness, because then they see that the role is obsolete, that people don't need them as in-between people, because then they will be in the light of Christ, and they will recognize the Messiah for who he is, and they will be able to see themselves as they are. We will be able to see ourselves as we truly are, children of the light, children of God, and all of our actions should represent that. John's responses to their questions are always in the negative. He is not the Messiah, meaning the anointed one. He has not been chosen by God to be anointed. He is not anointed a king as they were. He is not anointed a priest as they were. Even though he comes from a priestly family, he is the son of Zechariah, a priest, a high priest. And John the Baptist should have been a priest too, but he has nothing to do with this priesthood. He's far away from Jerusalem and from the temple as he can. And he does not, of course, claim to be a prophet. He does not even accept the fact that he is confused with Elijah, the prophet who had been taken up to heaven in a fiery chariot. You see this in the second book of Kings, chapter 2, verse 11. Elijah, who would return at the end of time to do various things, to purify the priesthood, to restore the tribes of Israel, and to mitigate the wrath of God. Elijah later on was also seen as the forerunner or of a companion of the Messiah. If Elijah is around, the Messiah is around. And after John denies being any of these messianic individuals, John identifies himself as he sees himself. He is the voice of the one crying out in the desert, as Isaiah said, chapter 40, verse 3. John's role is to prepare. He is called to be in second place. His job is to prepare a place for somebody that's bigger than him. It's preparatory. It's the one that prepares the way. He explains this when the officials question him about baptizing. Why then do you baptize if you are not the Messiah, if you're not Elijah or a prophet? John states that the one for whom he is preparing the way is already in the midst of the people, that he is already there, but they do not recognize him, and they will remain in darkness for the rest of their life. They will never recognize who Jesus is. The religious leaders will never recognize Jesus, and therefore will always remain in darkness. But they choose to do that. John the Baptist is content and fulfilled in being first a witness and then a herald and nothing more. He does not need to be number one. He does not need to step on Jesus' toes in order to get ahead of him. He's happy and content being the forerunner, being number two. And that's a lesson that we Christians need to learn today. We need to take to heart this lesson from John the Baptist and again find our rightful vocation and our positions as being witnesses, to give witness to the truth, to the light of Jesus Christ, to be heralds of God's good news to those who are in darkness, and not to take the place of Christ. Why is this Sunday called Laetaris Sunday, the Sunday of joy? The joy of this Sunday comes from both the message of the readings and from the anticipation that truly Christmas is near. We celebrate the birth of the one who is with us. And who will bring us good news of God? Who will bring us these good news? The Messiah will. Jesus Christ is the good news, and he is always present in our midst. We are never alone. I will be with you always until the end of time. The good news of God is that the good news is always present to us. The Messiah brings us the gifts promised from God. He brings the gifts of justice, of glad tidings, of healing, of liberty, of liberation, of vindication, of freedom, of opening our eyes, of telling the poor that they are important to God. This is the beginning of a new era of God's peace, and how much our world needs this new era today. According to St. Paul in the second reading, the response of believers should be of constant rejoicing, of praying, of giving thanks to God. In other words, the gifts that the Messiah brings can only be received by hearts that are open to the promise of God. And this is what Advent means to us, that we await the promise of God. It does not matter how long we wait, it's how we wait. Do we wait with an open heart and an open mind that the promises of God will indeed be fulfilled? Do we wait with lit candles as the prudent and wise virgins did? Can we wait in the middle of this darkness with our lights lit for the bridegroom to come and bring us to God, to the house of God, to his house? The disposition of joy, prayer, and gratitude create such openness in the believer. And insofar that we have received the gifts and that we continually receive the gifts, then we are changed, then we are transformed, and we go from darkness to light so that we can truly be seen, so that our actions can be seen, our words heard. And this is the conversion, my friends, that Advent is calling us to live. God bless you.